All right, so personal development 01, our first topic is knowing oneself, understanding the self. Okay. I have a question for you. Do you understand yourself already? Okay. So maybe the moment you look at yourself in the mirror, you may be thinking about something else. Who is this person I'm looking at me? Okay. What kind of person he is? What are his strengths and limitations? All right. Or when you take your selfie photo, what can you say every time you see your picture? Okay. So that is part of understanding yourself. Okay. That is part of knowing yourself, knowing who you are. Now, at the end of this lesson, what you will understand is explain, okay? You'll be able to explain that knowing yourself can make a person accept his or her strengths and limitations and dealing with others better. You are going to share your unique characteristics, habits, and experiences, and also make journal, okay? Maintain journal. So, because starting this class, you are going to make reflection paper or reflective journals. All right. Now, going back to the question, how well do you know yourself? Just don't mind the link I put there. How well do you know yourself? Okay. Please access your canvas. Do you guys have? Can say wala pa access sa canvas? Please type me in the chat if you can still not access your canvas. Go to the assignment tab, look for module number 1, activity number 1, focus question. Click that and answer the question, how well do you know your strengths and limitations? And the next question is, how well do you know yourself? Type done in the chat if you are done answering the activity. Okay. All right, very good. All right, very good. So now, sometimes if you're asked to describe yourself, who are you? There may be times that you are actually describing your actual self, or are you describing your ideal self? Okay. When you say, okay, I like planning and scheduling my activities. Is that your actual self, or you want to be organized? Okay, or your ideal self. Now let's talk about self concept. How do you see yourself? Are you seeing yourself as a person real or actual, or the ideal? Okay, so what is your self concept? Let's understand the self. What is the self? Okay, so what is the self? There are actually different definitions. The philosophical definition, and also psychological definition of the self. So let's begin with philosophical view. What the self is? It is the being which is the source of a person's consciousness. All right. That means, based on this definition, this is what has caused a person to think, okay, to think about anything else, something else, and to act. So that's the philosophical view or definition. But in the psychological view, it's defined differently. Okay, this is a little more specific compared with the philosophical view, because in psychological view, it's talking about cognitive. When we say cognitive, this refers to your mental process. Take note of that. You write this down, or you write this in your mind. Cognitive means mental process. Okay? The way your mind works, the way your mind processes information, that's cognitive. And affective, that really means emotional or emotion. Affect means emotion. Take note of that. So, in psychological view, the self refers to the combination of how we think and how we feel that creates a representation of our identity, your identity, or a person's identity. Now, what is identity? Anybody? What do you think identity is? You can tap the raise hand button if you like to answer the question, or you can type your answer in the chat box. What is identity? Carl said credentials. What? Okay. You? What does it mean when you say you? It's you. Identity is who you are as a person. Who you are. So what has contributed to that line, who you are? That's who you are. Okay, your character, something that only belongs to you. Okay, a sense of self. Okay, that's still very general. Okay, just be specific. What is identity? Who you are. Okay. It's who I am. That's my identity. Okay? What makes you you? That is your identity. Okay? So what are the factors that you can consider that may contribute to that what we call identity? Okay, your personality or characteristics. Yes, that can be your identity. But it's not only specific. Identity is not only specific to your personality because part of your identity is your physical self. Tambok ba ka, niwang ba ka, taas ba ka, or putot ba ka? Okay, that's part of your identity. All right. You know, it's funny because when we were having face-to-face classes, every time students would look for me in the faculty room, they would like if they forgot my name, and then they would say, "Naa si Sir katong andi paragod nga tambok." So tambok is part of my identity, right? Okay. Now identity is the characteristics. Okay, characteristic of a person that is ang characteristics. All right. But when we say identity, that can be universal. So na ay possibility that your identity is similar to others. Do you agree with that? Yes, because we label them nga similar ta og identity. All right? Natay similarities in identity. Now, let's specify pag yun the definition. What I like is the next definition about the self. The self is said to be the union of elements, namely body, thoughts, feelings or emotion, sensation, and that constitute the individuality and identity of a person. So basically, I like this definition because this is complete. The union of elements, so meaning it's not this the self does not only compose of one element, but all other elements, namely our body, our physical body. Okay, the physiological characteristics, whether black hair, short hair, long hair, okay, or white hair, all right, tall or short, okay. So yun ana, that's our body characteristics. Our thoughts, our mental process, okay, cognitive, our feelings or affect, okay, or affective representation, our emotion, sensations, and all of these actually unite to constitute individuality and identity. So that's when you can say, this is who I am, this is what I can do, these are my strengths and limitations, and this is me. However, when we say individuality, that means the uniqueness of being you. Okay, that's individuality. The uniqueness. Okay, so let's say, tambok. Okay, for example, you define a person nga, okay, you are tambok. Okay, just don't be upset if someone calls you tambok. Okay, so just mahimos ang normal. I accept that already. Okay, for example, tambok, that is my identity. That's part of my identity. But individuality means unsa man ko katambokon, pareha ba gid kanang measure sa body? Because individuality is the uniqueness of my characteristics. Are you getting it? Okay, type yes in the chat if you are still following. Okay. All right, perfect. Okay. Now, another definition of the self, this is defined by Carl Rogers, one of the psychologists. He said that the self consists of all the ideas, perceptions, and values that characterize the I or me. So ideas, that means this is cognitive in a way. Now, we can say it's the self because that's our perception about it. But this refers to the I or me. Okay? Ako ni. This is me. This is who I am. And this is what I am. This is what I can do. That's according to Carl Roger. Now, when we talk about the self, very big contribution of that is what we call personality. Okay? What has contributed to that definition of the self is what we call personality. All right? Now, we have different kinds of personality. Maybe you are highly motivated person, resilient, decisive, extrovert, introvert, loner, enthusiastic, different kinds of personality there is. But, okay, let's define it first, di pa. Personality, by definition, it is the distinctive patterns of thoughts, emotion, and behavior that define an individual's personal style of interacting with a physical and social environment. So that means there is a distinct patterns, the way we think, the way we feel, the way we behave. There is a distinct pattern. That means that pattern is only within yourself. Okay, walay makakopyaan ng a distinctive pattern. That kind of personality. For example, you say, I'm an introverted person. How introverted are you? Okay, so how introverted are you? And then as introverted person, we have different kinds of how we act. Okay, so that is why that pattern is distinct to you. All right, so the way you interact with other people, for example, the way you deal with your classmates. If you are this person who is very caring with your classmate or your friends, then that is your personality. But if you are the person nga walay pake, okay, walay pake sa mga tao around you, so that is your personality. Okay, the way you handle with your social environment, for example, you handle your things. Okay, the physical environment. I mean, the way you handle your things. Kung burara ka sa inyong balay, you don't like to kanang keep things in order, that is also your personality. All right? You manifest that kind of personality because of the combination of the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you behave. Okay? But the question is, if you are introverted or extroverted right now, what has influenced you to be like that? Anybody? Type your answer in the chat. What have influenced you to be who you are right now? When you say right now, I'm a very organized person, what has influenced you to be like that? Somebody said, myself, it is impossible na nag-evolve ra ka sa imong self nga ikaw lang. Okay? Nia said, environment. People around me, environment, and those around you experience past traumas, your surroundings, our environment, and people we surround ourselves with, family, mistakes, okay, being inside the house all the time, okay, so why do you like to be inside the house? What has caused you to be like that? Trauma, people around me, past problems and mistakes, environment, different factors like genetics, environment, and brain. Oh, complete si Karil. Upbringing, childhood situation, community, attitude around my family and friends, experience as well, the environment and people, fictional characters. Yes, maybe that can also influence you. Environment and family. Okay. Very good. You were able to identify almost everything that influenced personality. Okay, but we can actually categorize them because there are two types, okay? Two ways that we are influenced. That is what we call, or what is called, nurture and nature. Okay, so sa inyong identify ganin na, which do you think is the nurture factors? Okay, which part of there ang nurture? Asa man ato ang nurture? When we say nurture, that means that something is influenced by external factors. That means dili siya nature, dili siya innate when you were born. Okay? When we say nature, the moment you were born, it's already embedded in your genes. That means it's already part of your DNA. All right? So among those that you identified, asa man dito ang nature be? Sige, type down nature. What are the upbringing? Yes, that's part of the nature. I'm sorry, nurture. I mean, nurture niha, nurture, the first one. So the upbringing, family, people, how you were raised, that's nurture. What else? Trauma, yeah, that can be part of the nurture. School, work environment, yes, that's part of nurture. Why? Because that is, okay, external factor. Nature, born with it, nurture, trained, or work. Yes, correct. You're correct, Carl. But the question is, asa man dito sa inyong gipa-identify ang mga nurture nga parts? Okay. All right. Trauma, the people around us and the environment. Yes, you got it right. Now, when we say nature, I mentioned this a while ago, and somebody also mentioned it just a while ago. Nature is something that is already embedded. That's part of your DNA. So what is that? Genes. Okay, I think you don't need to mention it. Yeah, the genes, the DNA. Okay, would you believe that personality can be inherited? Tuon na lang mo para madali. There was a study conducted in the US. Actually, there was among parents with aggressive tendency, and it was found that children also have aggressive tendency. So that's why that explains best how personality can be inherited. So that's part of the DNA. That's part of naanasa sa atong body. It runs in the blood. All right? Questions so far or clarification before we proceed? No question, no clarification? Okay. All right, very good. Mga bright day ni. None so far. None for me, sir. Okay. Thank you very much for responding to my question. Okay, I appreciate that. Now, I think, okay, there is okay, I think it is because after they're born, the parents already have their behavior affected the children. It could be environmental, but it is undeniably true that personality can be inherited. Okay, it is not just influenced by the upbringing. All right, now here. To explain further about personality, let's talk about psychoanalytic theory of Sigmund Freud. Kinsa may nakasugat na ni Sigmund Freud? Have you encountered Sigmund Freud in your neighborhood? Karel, have you encountered Sigmund Freud already? Raphael? Oh.
Yes, sir. Friends, Miss F.
Friends with FB, okay. Do you know that Sigmund Freud is the most controversial psychologist before in the 1900s?
He has a daughter.
Yes. What's her daughter's name?
Yes. I forgot what was on this book.
Anna Freud. Okay.
Oh,
But
yeah,
we're
Anna
not
Freud.
going to talk about Anna Freud. We're going to talk about Sigmund Freud. Okay? Because this is a very good, if we talk about basic understanding of personality, he has a very good explanation. Okay, let me tell you why. According to his psychoanalytic theory, when we say, by the way, psychoanalytic means that personality is influenced by past experiences. Okay, that's psychoanalytic, past experiences. What you see is not what you get. Huh? Common line we hear is, what you see is what you get, diba? What you see is what you get. But in his psychoanalytic theory, it's more of what you see is not what you get. How does that happen? Take a look at this iceberg. Okay. Iceberg. Sige daw, anybody? Can you try to explain this one? Why do you think that personality is just the tip of an iceberg? Yes.
So conscious level, thoughts and perception on the top. Below is the unconscious level, such as fears, unacceptable, violent motives, irrational wish, and the not the deep one, but the middle of that is called preconscious level.
Yes.
Memories and stored knowledge.
Uh-huh.
It's what we call the iceberg metaphor.
Right. Very good. So, Glenn, you have read in advance. Okay. All right. Very good. That was a very good explanation, no? So, di na ko mag-explain ani iceberg. All right. Okay. So, in Sigmund Freud, psychoanalytic theory, there are 3 levels of awareness. The first level is called consciousness. The second level is called preconscious. And the third level is called unconscious awareness. Okay? So when we say conscious awareness, that's the awareness that you are aware. I mean, that's the awareness, that's the mind that kana bitong aware ka what's going on. Kami ka nga, this is what I'm doing right now. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. So these are part of your conscious. These are in touch with the reality. Okay? Take note of that. Conscious is the one in touch with the reality. That's conscious awareness. When we say pre-conscious, this is actually, have you noticed it that if you have experience, you have a lot of experiences, right? You did something yesterday. Sometimes you forget, or sometimes you remember. Do you agree with that? Are there memories that you tend to forget, but then if you need to retrieve the memory, you can still get them? Right. Because they are stored in the pre-conscious mind. Okay, because they are stored in the pre-conscious mind. So when they are in the pre-conscious mind, these are memories that can readily be accessed. Okay, but there are experiences that we can no longer remember. Okay, what are those experiences? Katong giilisan kag diaper sa imong parent when you were a toddler. Can you still remember that? No, you cannot remember that anymore. But do you know that according to psychoanalytic theory, that experience actually is part of molding your personality? Di ba? That's how it is. So the accumulation of experiences, even those that we can no longer remember and those that we can still remember, those actually contribute to the personality that you're aware right now. Okay? Nasabtan pa? Right. Click the raise hand button if you are still following. Okay, very good. Now, let's ato paginisang palibog-libogo na because Sigmund Freud actually divided the pre-conscious, the awareness into three structures. Now, this is called personality structure. Okay, so what are these three types of personality structures? We have the id, ego, and the superego.
Ego and superego.
Yes. The id, ego, and superego. So what does id, ego, and superego mean? So these are three personality structures nga di nagwork sila all together. How does it happen? Okay. Now the id, just like what Glenn mentioned a while ago, id is the one nga medyo instinctive because of the accumulation of memories nga naa sa pre-conscious and the unconscious mind. Id is able to create pleasure-seeking principles. So siya ang mag-seek og pleasure, mga instinct. Alright? And now, because id is not in touch with the reality, dili siya ka-perform sa iya ang pleasure, sa iya ang mga ganahan. But who will perform that? It is the ego. Because ego is the one in touch with the reality. So that's when you say, this is me, this is who I am, this is what I can do, this is what I can do, I cannot do. Okay? But when we say ego, it does not necessarily mean that we consciously know what it is that what we like and who we are, because sometimes we do not know. Okay? Now, the ego is the reality principle kay siya ang ga-perform sa mga desires. All right? Are you getting me so far? Ego is the one that performs the desires. So that's why it's called reality principle. Now, what if the accumulated memories na naka-form sa personality, as naka-form sa mga instinct and desires of id are negative or let's say unethical? Okay? So this is where superego comes in. Diri na mo comes in si superego. Nga naman, because superego is the moral or ethical processes of personality. So that means nga superego, since if you notice, superego is in touch with the unconscious mind, pre-conscious, and the conscious mind. So that means mas wider ang iya ang perspective. So that's the reason why superego can understand if that desire, certain desire, is good or not. Okay, so that's why superego has two subsystems. By the way, there's conscience. Conscience tells us what is wrong. Ego ideal tells us what is right. Now, let's say for example, it already became a habit that a personality that a certain person likes to cheat during exam, for example. Okay, when cheat during exam, if there is no superego, ego will perform cheating because that's the desire of id. Okay. However, if there is superego, conscience will tell this person that cheating is not good. Cheating is bad. Okay? What will ego ideal say? Ego ideal will say nga, you have to study your lessons. All right? Are you getting me? Type yes in the chat if nasabtan, naka-follow. Okay. All right. So say for example, may another example na to sa kwan aside from cheating. Let's say ganahan ka magmarites. But let us make this clear. Marites nga mga not true ang information. Kay basin og na mga marites nga true. It's not bad, no? So let's make marites a bad thing because the information you are spreading is not good. Okay? Let's say that like that. So okay, identify, is this going to be conscience or ego ideal? Hoy, sayop manang magmarites labi nag wrong imo information. Is that conscience or ego ideal? Sayop manang magmarites. Sayop manang mamakak ka. Imo pa dyan ipanabi nga sayop ng imong information. That's super ego, but is that conscience or ego ideal? Type your answer in the chat. Yes, that is conscience. Okay? Ego ideal may say, may pagmanglaba ka. You better go launder your clothes. All right? Because ego ideal tells us what is right. Okay, what's right is kanang get the right information and do not spread information if you are not given permission to spread information about this person. Okay, so that's what will ego ideal say. All right? Okay, so muna siya ang personality structures na. Id, ego, super ego. Nasabtan ra ba? Is everything clear so far? Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, after psychologists before, they tried to understand personality. Now, after trying to create theories about personality, they created tools to measure personality. Now, this time, personality can be labeled already. So it started with trait theory. In the trait theory, they identified different personalities based on certain attributes. And in fact, they were able to identify more than 16,000 different personalities. But then, they were able to narrow it down. Ilang kuha ang mga similar personality, and they come up with the big 5 personality traits. Okay. Open, consciousness, extroverted, agreeableness, neuroticism. All right? To easily remember, that's ocean. O for openness, C for conscientiousness, E for extrovertedness, A for agreeableness, and N for neuroticism. Okay? Now let's talk about open. So what is open? If you are a person that's highly open, that means you have a tendency to think in abstract and complex way. High scorers tend to be creative, adventurous, and intellectual. That means risk takers because they're open to new experiences. They like to discover new things. For low scorers, on the other hand, they're very practical. They're very conventional. They focus on the concrete. So that means they don't take risk. They don't like to experience new things. Okay, because they always do what is conventional, what is easy, and what kung naay unsa tong mga proven na nga mga strategy. That's what they will do. Okay. Openness is strongly related to the person's interest in art and culture. Yes, we can also relate this to a person's interest in art and culture. People who are high in openness tend to enjoy the arts and seek out unusual, complex form of expression. But those who are low in openness are often suspicious of the art and prefer focus on practical pursuits. Why? Because they want magud kind of factual information. That's what they like for low in open. Okay, but it doesn't mean that you are it's negative, no? If you are low or high in openness, I think what's better here is to balance your openness. So, but if you were to assess yourself right now, what do you think is your your score would lean to? Is it going to be a high scorer in openness or low? Type your answer in the chat. High or low? Just type or low. Okay, Carl, low score. Michaela, all right. High, low. High, low. Okay. Okay, Carl, you raised your hand. Do you have a question?
Sir, have you heard of the phrase called "old is golden"?
No. What about it?
Basta it's a phrase used by low scorers actually.
I'm sorry. Can you say it again?
Old is golden.
It means?
They don't want to explore any new way. They just want to follow the old ways.
Yes. So that means they are low scorers in openness.
More like cave of allegory.
Allegory of the cave.
Yeah, allegory of the cave, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, let me check. High, low. All right. Okay, now nasabtan na ang openness. Next, let's talk about conscientiousness. All right? Conscientious. Highly conscientious individuals actually exercise self-discipline, very high self-control in order to pursue goals. Okay? Kinsa man dere, katong they can easily follow their schedules. They don't easily sidetrack because low scorers are impulsive and can easily be sidetracked. So for example, you have an exam tomorrow, but your classmate has a birthday party. Are you going to study? Well, you haven't studied your lessons yet. Are you going to study your lesson or you go to a party? What do you think?
Study first.
Party daw si Francis. Study si Jan. Okay. Okay. So if you know how to manage your time well, you are highly conscientious. But if you do not know how to manage your time well, you are. I said I am because I do not manage my time well. All right. My conscientious level is actually kind of low, closer to the middle, but it's leaning to the low score. Okay, because I have a problem with this. All right, now very good. If you are highly conscientious, depends on how quick you are doing something, but always go lessons. Okay, I'll probably go to the party as a reward for studying. Okay, so you study first before going to the party. All right, or you bring your study notes to the party. All right, next. Extroverted. Okay, this is very common. I think this is the most sikat nga term, no? Extroversion, introversion. If a person is extroverted, highly extrovert describes a person's inclination to seek stimulation. These are the people who cannot be on their own for a long time. They need to talk to someone. Okay, they like to engage in different activities, but according to that description, these people likes to seek friends, admiration, power, status, excitement, and romance. Maybe if high jud kaayo. For low scorers, they're called introverts, just like me. I'm an introvert. Conserve. Okay, they conserve energy and do not work as hard to earn their social reward. Okay, I like to be rewarded, but not to the highest point. But I like to be on my own. Okay, I lost a lot of energy if I talk to a lot of people, especially people I do not know. All right, so that's indicator that I'm an introvert. And when I took the Big Five personality test, I'm also closer to the middle, but it's leaning to the introverted, but closer to the middle. Okay, other information about extroverted. Extroverts are especially thrilled by these victories, especially when they earn the attention of others. So ganahan gini sila kanang i-praise per me. Okay, when someone always praise them, getting a promotion, finding a new romance, new. So per me ni mag-usap-usap di or winning an award or all likely to bring an introvert great joy. In contrast, introverts do not experience as much as high from social achievements. They tend to be more content with simple, quiet lives and rarely seek attention from others. Okay. Kinsa man dari, okay, you type, are you an extrovert or introvert? Type in the chat. In the middle. Introvert, mid, okay. Both. Introvert, extrovert, all right. Ambivert. Okay. Daghan ang introvert, no? Introvert, extrovert. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Let's proceed to the next personality. It's called agreeableness. So if you're highly agreeable, probably you can be a very good teacher or a psychologist, a doctor, a people who likes to help others. Kana bitaw mag-una ka tabang sa uban before you help yourself. Okay, that's agreeable person. So if you're highly agreeable, you experience great deal of empathy and tend to get pleasure of serving and taking care of others. Okay, so perhaps maybe some of the politicians are like this, no? Agreeable siguro ni sila because they like to help others. Low scorers in agreeableness tend to experience less empathy and put their own concern ahead of others. Okay, low scorers are often described as hostile, competitive, maybe if very low gid siguro, okay, na may hostile gid nga pagka-describe. Competitive and antagonistic atong permi mo reklamo. Okay, they tend to have more conflictual relationships and often fall out with people. So for very low scorers of in agreeableness, they tend to have unstable relationship. Nga naman, because they are having difficulty empathizing, putting themselves in the shoes of others. All right? Other information. Agreeable describes a person's tendency to put others' needs ahead of their own and to cooperate rather than compete with others. Okay? Who among you here type high or low in agreeableness? Be? Let me read. I like to say I'm high, but I lack empathy. Okay, if you lack empathy, so maybe that's low. Low, can't take care of others if I can't even help myself. Exactly, Francis. So there's nothing wrong if you are low in agreeableness because you need to help yourself first. You cannot give what you don't have. But if you find pleasure helping others, that means maybe you are high in agreeableness. Selflessness, in between. Okay. All right, very good. Thank you very much. Let's proceed to the last one. Among the 5 personality traits, this is the negative one, okay? Because if you score high on this one, neuroticism, that means you really need to work something on it, okay? When we say neuroticism, that means those who are highly neurotic, they like to react to a situation of fear, anger, sadness, and the like. We experience fear, we experience anger, we experience sadness. Do you agree with that? Do we all experience those? Right, yes. However, for highly neurotic people, they experience this most often than others. Okay? But for low score in neuroticism, these are the people who like to brush off their misfortunes and just move on. They will say, ay, sos, problema ra na ako ng katawan. Everything will be over soon. It's like that. It's very easy, no? That's easy. That's normal. As a human being, I have to experience sadness and like this, and this will be over soon. That means you're low scorer in neuroticism. But if you're a high scorer, you really need to do something about it. Just to balance it. I-balance lang gid nimo ang imong neuroticism level. Okay? All right. So, next that is our Big 5 personality test. Now, we are going to talk about MBTI. Who can still remember their MBTI test result? Can you still remember? Can you type your MBTI in the chat? If you want. ENTP. Okay. INTP, INFP, INFJ. Okay. INFJ-T. Okay. All right. Okay, very good. Puro introvert? Gamay ra extrovert?
Ikaw, sir, what's your MBTI type, sir?
I forgot the combination, but I'm sorry, I forgot my combination. I'm also N. but I am a feeler and I'm a judger. INFJ. Yes. Okay, so let's talk about the E or I. Extroversion stands for E. I stands for introversion. How an individual prefers to channel his or her energy when dealing with people. Are you going to? Do you prefer to channel it outwardly or inwardly? Okay, all right. Now introverts, they enjoy contemplating ideas and experience. Okay, this is so me. Being in a calm surrounding. Yes. That's why I often go to a coffee shop. All right. Or quiet places, exploring a subject in depth, reflecting on thoughts or feelings. Kana bitong hilig ka nga, what did I do today? Am I productive today? I feel like I'm not productive today. I'm so disappointed. Maintaining distance and privacy. This introverts like to be on their own. Okay, although introverts can actually handle people. Okay, but they will lose a lot of energy after dealing with a lot of people. That's what I experienced. Have you experienced it during fiesta where you have to talk to a lot of people in your who visited your house, and then my God, that is the most tiring experience. I mean, every time we have fiesta, I knocked out after. Okay. Yes, so kapoy. My social battery runs out pretty quickly. Yes. All right. Because we like to be in a quiet place and we like to be on our own. Okay? Mga highly introverts. But extroverts, they like to interact with people. These are the people nga bisag asa padulong. It's like my father. My papa can actually talk to different people even if he doesn't know these people. He talk to them. It's like, oh my God, I don't have that kind of energy. And extroverts, they like to be in a busy surroundings, engaging with the outside world, expressing thoughts and feelings. Okay, these are expressive. But actually, guys, even if I'm introverted, I've learned to express my thoughts already and feelings. So I just needed to practice a lot. I practiced a lot. That's why I'm able to develop this area. Being noticed by others, stimulation and activity. So these extroverts like to do a lot of things. They get stressed if they're not doing anything. Okay, so that's extroversion and introversion. Next, sensing or intuition. Sensing. This refers to how you process information. Is it through sensing? Is it using your five senses, or you're using the sixth sense? Okay, or the intuition? All right. When we say sensing, that means you can see facts. Okay, that's how you describe things because you can feel it, you can touch it, you can see it, you can taste it. All right. But if it's intuition, you are expressing your ideas even if you don't have evidence. Okay. Example of intuition. You are just inside your room. You cannot see outside. But you will say, I feel like it will rain today. What do you think? Is that sensing or intuiting? Sige daw, type your answer in the chat. If you are not able to see the sky, but makayon ka nga, I feel like it will rain today. Is that sensing or intuiting? All right. Carl said sensing, but the rest said intuiting, and then Sheena said sensing. Okay, take note of this. You are not seeing evidence nga mo rain today, but you feel like it will rain. That is intuiting. Intuition. Because you don't have evidence. You are not able to see the sky. Okay, for example, kani. Feeling na ako kay naitaw sa akong likod. But you are not. Wala kay mata sa likod. Feeling ni mo na itaw sa mong likod. Is that sensing, intuiting? Feeling ni mo. That's intuiting. Why? You don't have evidence. Okay? Kana mayon ka nga, feeling lagi na ako kay nailang uyab akong boyfriend. Feeling na ako nailang uyab akong girlfriend. Is that sensing or intuiting? Wala ka kitag text messages? Wala kang kakita. You're not
Assuming, speculating, and intuiting.
Yes, because you're assuming, you're speculating without evidence. All right? All right. So sensing means that you describe things based on what you see, what you feel, what you touch, what senses. Okay? Now, sensors focus on observing sight, sound, sensation, noticing details. Okay, these are detail-oriented people. Experiencing the present moment, concrete, provable facts, realism and practicality, knowledge from past experience. Okay, so but if you are highly intuitive, just like me, I'm also highly intuitive. I observe patterns and connection, and then I create meaning. Okay, interpret meaning, imagining potentials, ideas and concepts, innovation and creativity. Creative dahil mga intuitive. Okay, and possibilities for the future. So maybe we can say that these people are risk takers. They don't need concrete facts, but if they feel like this is good for them, they will do it. All right, that's intuitive. So which are you here? Are you more of sensors or intuitive? Type in the chat. Sensor, intuitive. Okay, sensor, intuitive. All right. Oh, daga mga intuitive dahil diri. Okay. Okay, let's proceed to the next one. Thinking or feeling. This refers to how you make decision. When you make decision, do you weigh things out? Do you use your logic on analysis, or you are basing it on your senses or values or belief? So pareha ni sa katong intuiting ganina ba nga marag feeling lang nimo, ganahan ko ani. Ari ko kay ganahan ko. I like this, so I'm gonna I'll do this because I like it. You're not even thinking of the pros and cons of your decision. Yun ana. So if those thinkers, they use logical reasoning. So nagi na sila mga pros and cons, advantage, disadvantages. Okay? Being biased and impartial, considering costs and benefits. Dili lang ko dili lang ko mag-doctor kay kanang murag dili ka for akong parents. So like that. So you weigh things out. Seeking consistency and justice, keeping a competitive edge, making objective decisions. But the feelers are acting out ideals, engaging emotion. So most of the time when they make decision, they base it on their emotion. Considering the impact on people, okay, seeking harmony and appreciation, serving others. So feelers like to serve others because they highly empathize. They can highly empathize. They can highly put themselves in the shoes of others, making authentic decisions. So which are you here? Feelers or thinkers? Type in the chat. Thinker, feeler, thinker. I am a feeler. Okay. All right. Feeler, thinker. All right. Okay. Thank you very much. Let's proceed to the next one. The last one, judgment or perception, or J or P. Now this refers to how you manage your life. How do you manage your life? Are you planning? Do you plan before you do something else? Is that how organized you are? Or are you this person who can just change anything along the way? Okay. Di ba? Perception or perceivers, they follow the whims of the moment. Ganahan ko ani, kani kong baton. Then after tomorrow, di na siya ganahan, di na pod. Okay? Make the rules up as they go. Have the freedom to be flexible. You know what I like about perceivers? They don't get stressed out if there's something changed. If there's sudden change, they don't get stressed. Okay? That's flexible. Okay, they brainstorm options. They do things when inspiration strikes. They go with the flow. They enjoy surprises. I don't like surprises, but yeah, I go with the flow. I think I'm highly perceiver. If I'm going to kanang measure jud ungkwan. Judgers, on the other hand, these are the people who create plans, and they can stick to it. They see a task through a completion. Okay? Adhere to schedule, set goals, and maintain focus. Follow rules and regulations. But I do follow rules and regulations. Set expectations. So which are you here? Perceiver or judger? I already saw somebody. Okay, judger, perceiver. All right. Judger, perceiver. All right. Okay. No? But guys, Okay, we are done with our discussion about knowing oneself. So this time, I'm going to introduce to you your mini performance task. Performance task man dayon? Okay, performance task dayon. So, you are going to log into you create an account in www.truity.com. Let me check if this is still open. Let me see. If this website is still working, I haven't checked it. Truity.com, and yeah, you need to create an account. It's free. You don't need to pay anything in truity.com. Just follow the instruction I gave there in the module. So you can see the complete instruction in the module. Okay, so truity.com, you are going to take 2 personality tests there, the MBTI test and the Big 5 test. Okay, then, okay, don't mind the second instruction. Just go to the module and follow the instruction there.